What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I think this is actually my third day filming a YouTube video, so that's kind of crazy for me. But welcome back. This YouTube video is going to be about nature and how our disconnection from nature is destroying us as humans, or as our humanity as a whole in general. So, for one, I just want to start off by saying technology is probably going to be the downfall of humanity. I'm going to be honest, because technology is advancing and advancing and advancing and becoming more modern, but yet is leading us further and further and further and further away from nature. And it's even getting to the point where things that we don't even need technology for, we're using technology for. I remember a few months ago, I was in Whole Foods and I didn't see well, actually a few months ago, the hand thing that you know how in Whole Foods you can pay with your hand if you're with Amazon. Before that wasn't around, and I remember me actually noticing it a few months ago, and I was like, whoa, you can pay with your hand now at Whole Foods if you're with Amazon? Like, that's honestly crazy. And how does technology do that? Like, how does it keep track of your hand like that? And I don't know, I feel like it's a lot of it comes with control from the government and stuff, of course. And that's honestly the main reason why they use it to their advantage, is to control humanity. But technology is just becoming really way too advanced, and it's like we need to understand that we come from nature, and nature provides like everything for us. So if we want to replace everything that's natural, that comes from nature, with technology, then wouldn't that just destroy us all? Because technology isn't necessarily natural. Technology didn't come from nature. So even though technology can be used for our benefit, yeah, but it can also be used to destroy us. And it could also be the cause of our destruction as a society in general, not even just specific people. As you see now, like, we have so much cities and so much, and I think they're talking about making smart cities too, with technology, like basically controlling and running the whole city. And for one, like, that's dangerous. That's bad. I would not want to live in I already don't want to live in the city in general, but living in a smart city, yeah, I don't think I would want to do that. And I think you guys can hear me better now. And what I was gonna say is, it's already like bad enough that we have cities that we built over, or that we built over nature, or we built by destroying nature, you know? Like, that's already bad enough. And then we're trying to implement smart cities, which would make them have to get rid of nature even more. And all of it is really for control. Like I said earlier, that's what most of it is. Like, it's not truly to be used for our benefit, if you really think about it. And so I don't know if you guys know, but we are all beings of nature. We all come from nature. We all get our life and our energy from the sun. And that's why, you know, you have solar energy and solar panels and stuff, which is natural technology, basically. It's using energy from the sun to create electricity, which is how we originally used to live, you know? And we used to live more connected to nature, and eating from nature definitely is really important. And I noticed that, especially today, like, we got a lot of places that sell a lot of genetically modified stuff, bioengineered ingredients in a lot of the food that's in markets and stores nowadays. And like, that too is also getting out of hand, because one day humanity, I feel like, is going to have to realize, and honestly that day is honestly here now, but humanity is going to have to realize that we didn't originally live like this. Like our ancestors, ancient times, like we did not originally live like how we're living now. And how we're living now is, of course, going to cause a lot of destruction to us as people. But the only way to really fix that is to really connect back with nature. And we can do that through food, through our ways of eating from nature and from the ground, and agriculture, and starting our farms and growing our own food. That's one way we can fix it. We can fix this, but of course there's many other things that need to be fixed, not just food wise. Technology, like our iPhones and stuff, a lot of radiation, us sitting around a lot of radiation all day long is not healthy at all, because these radioactive things like 5G towers and our phones. One thing I want to say about that is, you notice that our phones can't really take too much of the sun, or it'll overheat and it'll have to, you'll have to, when your phone sits in the sun and then it gets too hot and then you can't use it and you got to wait for it to cool down. Honestly, that's not a coincidence. But for one, this radiation stuff, like the 5G towers and our phones and stuff, is really unhealthy for us to be just like sitting around in it all day. Especially if you live in a city, there's 5G towers everywhere in the city. Like, if you're like living in the city and you're around that all day, those frequencies mess with your frequency, and it's a lot of it is not healthy at all, and it's poisonous almost to us. Not to mention that a lot of these things that are being built for technology purposes and to advance civilization, a lot of this stuff, in order for this to be built, they have to destroy nature. They have to destroy the trees and the natural land and the grass and all that, which is really, really bad. And it's bad for us, and it's bad for the world in general, for the environment in general. And we are the ones who's gonna have to suffer for that stuff, because we, like the people, we didn't build that. We didn't build these 5G towers, or we didn't want to build these 5G towers and all this, modern civilization. But according to like the government and the people that actually wanted to make this stuff, we have to suffer the consequences of them wanting to advance things and become more modern, which is honestly really unfair to me, in my opinion. But really, humanity needs to connect back with nature, because it's super important. We need to be more outdoors. We need to be taken in the sun, because the sun gives off energy. The sun gives off God energy, which is really, really good for us, and it helps us upgrade, and it helps our DNA unlock. And especially if you have melanin in your skin, the sun is super, super good for you. Being outdoors in general is really good for you. Being in nature, being around plants, everything comes from nature, like I said earlier. So all this technology and all this modern stuff is trying to destroy nature, but you can't do that, because like I said, everything comes from nature, and nature is God, honestly. And no matter what you do, if you try to get rid of it, or if you try to destroy nature and put your civilization over it, or your buildings over it, what do you think eventually is going to happen? Nature is going to take that spot back, and it's going to, how you see those movies and stuff where there's like a city, but the city is covered in trees and grass growing all through the buildings and like nature just took over the whole city. Soon that's how it's going to be here, I'm telling you, because majority of this stuff is built over nature. And eventually, you know, if you try to, like, for an example, if you try to cover up a river or a lake and you try to build stuff over it, don't you think eventually that river or that lake is going to come back for its spot? Like, it's going to come back and destroy whatever you have over it? That's just how nature works, and you can't destroy nature. So, as I was saying earlier, technology and modern civilization is probably going to be our downfall as a society. And it's only really going to lead us back to connecting with nature, which is how we originally used to live. And it's going to take us to go more into agriculture and more into farming and growing, because this thing that I'm talking about that's connecting us, or that's disconnecting us from nature, is what we would call, or what I would call, the system. And this system, either you're going to have to make a choice. Either you're going to want to live through the system, which is disconnecting you from nature, and which is also disconnecting you from yourself. You're either going to have to live through the system, or you're going to have to live through the natural ways of living, which is through nature. And that's going to cause a lot of us to be like, no, I don't want to depend on the system, you know? Like, I don't want to depend on the system for my food anymore. I don't want to depend on the system for survival, just for basic survival anymore, you know? A lot of people is going to start waking up and saying that, and it's honestly already happening. And like I was saying earlier, when you disconnect from nature, you disconnect from yourself. And when you disconnect from yourself, you basically fell into the hands of the system, because that is one of the system's agenda, is to disconnect us from nature and to disconnect us from ourselves. A lot of us, we don't understand the principles and how life and how science works, because we're so disconnected from nature. And all we know is technology and materialistic things that are temporary. And this is what will lead to our downfall. I'm telling you. This is what will lead humanity down a dark path, because none of them know where we all come from, and none of them know how to continue to depend on what God has put it here for us, instead of depending on the system or the government. So I decided to make this video to talk about mostly that, because I know, like, in the future, that's a big problem that we're gonna have to deal with, like, as a collective, not even just certain people. It's going to be like everybody. That's something that we're going to have to deal with. And I see it coming more and more to today, like to today's reality. I see it manifesting even more and more, the disconnection from nature. And it's causing a lot of chaos and a lot of unwanted problems in the world. And this can easily be solved. This can easily be fixed, you know? But it's just going to take us as people to wake up and see the problem and the disconnection and where we went wrong, you know? But on the flip side, things will be better for us as humans, cut that out. Things will be better for us as a society. Because I'm telling you, you do not want to depend on the government for your survival. You do not want to do that, because that is part of their agenda. That is part of the plan. It's for you to depend on them, because once you become dependent on them, then they have full control over you. Because if you don't know how you're going to eat, if you don't know where you're going to sleep, if you don't know any of these things that is naturally here for us all, if you don't know any of that, then what will you depend on? What will you lean on? It will have to be the government, right? It will have to be another person who makes it seem like they have it all, and they have it all figured out, and they can give it to anybody. So you see how that will just lead to a destruction, especially for us. Freedom will be taken away. equality, justice, none of these things will matter if we have to depend on the government. And you even see these things going on right now where, like, I seen in the news the other day, the government is supposed to be shutting down soon. And like, all of this is just part of the agenda. It's all part of the plan, man. We have to understand what life really is, and we have to understand what freedom really is, and we have to understand what God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, we have to understand what that really is and how it works. And we have to understand that we do not need the government. We do not need to be dependent on any other human source, technology, none of that. Nature is our home, and nature is where we come from. And by connecting back with nature, you connect back to yourself, and you connect back to your DNA and all the God parts that's inside of you, that the universe put inside of you. So I just wanted to make that video and talk about that, because I feel like I wanted to bring some of this to you guys' attention if you're watching this video. And yeah, start to use this information to free yourself. Use this information to make better decisions when it comes to basic life and survival, and understand that we're dealing with a system that is completely against us and completely against humanity, and we're dealing with a system that wants to take our freedom, our rights, and our justice and equality, and it wants to rule over everyone and have all power over everyone, which is not good for us at all. So stay aware, and peace.